Hey, that's not fair. I'm watching myself. How come it doesn't count? Anyway, hello everybody. First off, I want to thank Celeste Sullivan from Instagram for sending me this awesome t-shirt. I am super appreciative and honored. You can find her on Instagram. Let's see what she is. She's at celeste.sullivan, I believe. I'll see if I can find her right quick. So, as you guys can see from the title, the requests on the Instagram were for a ketogenic diet discussion. Okay, yeah. There's Celeste. She sent me the, is it focus? She sent me the t-shirt. Can you focus on it? I don't know if it's focusing. Okay. Let me get started. So, ketogenic diets. We might think that they're like a new thing, but they're not. Ketogenic diets are just another incarnation of the low-carb diets that have been around for a long time. Now, the ketogenic diet specifically it's kind of like Atkins on steroids, and it's like Paleo, but even more extreme. So, ketogenic diets started because it was for research for kids who had epilepsy, and they found that by putting children on really strict ketogenic diets or really strict high-fat diets that induced ketogenesis, they could lower the amount of epileptic episodes that they were having. And so, for someone with a fairly severe brain disorder, that's a big deal. You know, I think it was like 50% of the kids who were on a strict ketogenic diet saw a decrease in their epileptic episodes. Some kids, I think it was like 10 to 15%, ended up just completely getting rid of their epileptic episodes. So that's a big deal if you have an issue with your brain that's really affecting your quality of life. But ketogenic diets is kind of like, you know, they saw one use for it, and they're like, oh great, yeah, let's do it. Let's have everybody do it. It's fantastic. You can lose weight. And so it's been the weight loss that has been the biggest selling point for ketogenic diets, as far as I can tell. Now, a lot of the ketogenic proponents that you might see online, you have like, you know, the muscly guys with like the shredded six-pack who are like, I do ketogenic diets. You can read about it on my blog and buy my exogenous ketone supplements and all of the other supplements that you're going to need so you don't like die of a nutrient deficiency on a ketogenic diet. Hold on one second. And so, ketogenic diets started for a real medical purpose, and then they were adopted as the next dietary craze. And as much as I dislike Atkins diets, at least, gosh, I don't even know if I can say this. It's like when I think back about George W. Bush, and I'm like, it's not that bad compared to what we have now. But it's still not great. So, Atkins diet, it's not as bad when you compare it to a ketogenic diet, but it's still not good. Not good at all. So, they all get you to go into a state of ketosis. So, ketosis is when you have elevated levels of ketone bodies. Ketone bodies, there are 3 different types. There's like acetoacetate, 3-hydroxybutyrate, and acetone. And when these ketone bodies go up, they're produced by the mitochondria in your liver cells. They are produced, go up in the bloodstream, and then your cells are able to take them in and then kind of reverse the process, and they're able to create energy from those ketone bodies. So it is one way of powering our cells, and it is totally natural. It's a totally natural state to be in if you're starving to death, or if you're really ill and because you're so sick you just want to like curl up in a hole and not go find food, right? Acetone, same thing as nail polish, yes. So, ketosis is natural. It happens when there's either a food shortage or you're really sick and you can't eat. So, you can stay in ketosis for an amount of time, like days or weeks, or I know some people claim to do it long term, but you can stay in it for a time without any major upset. But because ketone bodies are so acidic, they create an acidic environment inside your body, and that turns into a state of ketoacidosis. Okay? And once you reach a state of acidosis, for whatever reason, your body has to start going into major damage control mode. So, I am not totally sure about the current theories or agreement about what happens with like mineral leaching from your bones from acidosis caused by ketosis. To the best of my understanding, there are definitely minerals leached. There's a lot of the, like the calcium and the magnesium and the more alkaline minerals, they're taken out to try to buffer that acidity. It used to be believed that this happened with protein consumption, but that's like a whole other story. I'm gonna get myself off track trying to explain things. But basically, you go into acidosis. Alkaline minerals are shed from the body. Now, when this happens, this can make your bones and your teeth weaker than they were. It can contribute to issues with nerve or muscle dysfunction. It also leads to increases in the amount of kidney stones because your kidneys then have to filter out those minerals as well as the other acidic compounds and then eject them from your body. Some of that can get stuck and form crystals inside your kidneys, which make the kidney stones. You also end up with your kidneys having to produce a lot of ammonia. I almost lost the word. They produce ammonia because ammonia is highly alkaline. So inside your kidneys, the kidney cells produce ammonia that buffers the acidity of the blood coming through, but that ammonia is also really toxic to your kidney cells as well. So it's a very short-term solution because ketosis and acidosis is supposed to be a really short-term, oh my god, oh shit state for your body to be in where, we gotta do this or we're gonna just die. So it's not something that you want to do long-term if you have other options. Let me just check my notes, make sure we're on. Yep, got that. You also, when you're eating a diet that's really high in fats, especially saturated fats and such, it's no mystery that your cholesterol is going to go up. And you're going to end up having cholesterol build up on your arteries, because it has to go somewhere. And there have been some really scary levels of cholesterol in people who are on ketogenic diets, and they can say all these kinds of things like, oh no, that's been debunked, cholesterol's a myth, we can have as much as we want, but that's not realistically true. Good science does not find that consensus. So it's definitely a problem if your cholesterol shoots up past 250 or 300 or 400 in some cases. That's a big problem for not only your heart health and the health of your arteries, but the health of your brain, the health of your kidneys, the health of your entire body. Yep, heart disease, check. Heart attack risk goes up. You're also at a higher risk of acute pancreatitis, which inflammation in your pancreas is not a freaking good thing. And then you have hair thinning and loss for all of us people who are vain. I don't want my hair to fall out. And then death is pretty much the last one. Just all-cause mortality goes up. So hold on, sorry, trying to look at the order. Got it. People who were talking about fat, it's trying to hide your comments. Oh, I think it's automatically hiding comments that say fat because they think that you guys are trying to call me fat. Okay. Now, my biggest concern with a ketogenic diet, especially someone who attempts to do like a long-term ketogenic diet, are nutrient deficiencies. Because sure, you get some nutrients from high-fat foods, but not that much, and most of those nutrients we need really small amounts of. The other consideration is that on a ketogenic diet, you have to be eating 70 to 80% of your calories from fat, and most foods don't contain that much fat on its own, so you're going to end up having to eat either like blubber, which doesn't sound appealing to me, or you're going to have to end up eating refined fats like coconut oil and butter and heavy cream and all of the foods that you see populating these ketogenic diet recommendations, right? Sorry. um, and so when you're eating refined fats like that, you end up with an incomplete nutrient profile, which I hope would be like obvious. You end up missing out on a lot of the antioxidants and the phytonutrients and the fiber. Like, let's just talk about a constipating diet for a second. You need fiber to be able to move all of that out of your body, and you need fiber to be able to bind to cholesterol and excess hormones to move them out of your body. Vitamin C, I would be really worried about. Many B vitamins, you're just not going to get enough of if you're eating a diet that's 70 to 80% fat. Now, you shouldn't, which, I'll get to my opinion on like coconut oil and specifics right quick. I agree with Kai Loves, or KY Loves, I don't know how you want me to pronounce that, but yes, you don't need to be afraid of healthy fats and healthy amounts of healthy fats. By all means, 10 to like 15% of calories coming from natural whole fats from whole plant foods. Get those in, take them in. Your body definitely needs them, but we don't need to be consuming 70 to 80% of our calories from fats, which must come from refined fats. It's just not necessary. And so the issues with ketogenic diets become, how are you going to maintain this long term without dying? Which sounds really hyperbolic, but it's actually reasonable. You know, how are you going to do this without dying? From either nutrient deficiencies or the acidosis or a heart attack. It's just ridiculous. Even Dr. Oz, who we all know, loves to get on the bandwagon of ridiculous dietary hype. Even Dr. Oz said, when he looked at the ketogenic diet, you can't do this long term. And then, within a couple of sentences, someone else, I think it was his expert, said like, and when you go off of it, you're probably going to gain all the weight back. So it's like, if you can't do it long term, safely, and if when you go off of the diet, you're going to gain it all back, then why are we recommending this? You know? Why is it being recommended if you can't maintain it long term, safely? And if it's only effective for weight loss, if it's a caloric deficit, which can't be maintained indefinitely, and if it's losing a bunch of water weight, and as soon as you go back to eating more normal foods, like foods that actually contain carbohydrates, you're going to gain it all back, then I get it that we want a quick fix. But first of all, ketogenic diets have not been shown across the board to be super effective or the most effective diet for weight loss. And B, most of the time it's not maintained after the diet is over. And I know that some people talk about, carb cycling or like going in and out of keto cycles because it's unsafe, because it's unmaintainable long term. So then you have to go through these cycles of like, okay, well, sometimes I'm allowed to have carbs and sometimes I'm not. And I just laugh at that because, hi Annie, What do you mean? I have to, like, wake up and plan my whole day around what I'm going to eat and what foods I'm allowed to eat for that day or that week or that 3-day period or 5-day period so I can carb cycle and go back into ketosis each time and go through the headaches and the bad breath and the nausea and the constipation or the diarrhea or, you know, all of these short-term side effects of ketosis. And then you go into the long-term side effects of ketosis, and it just doesn't... It just doesn't make logical sense to me. Okay. Now, I'm just gonna have to say this, like, JoyJoy13, I don't know why you're just commenting random words. I appreciate it if you just stop. If you don't stop spamming, we might have a problem. That's just all I'm gonna say about that. Okay, let's get into some questions. I see you all. Hello everyone, thank you for saying hi to me. Alright. And, just after going over all of the information about ketosis, like, I'm planning to do a video that's longer and outlined and, you know, cites all of the articles that I've been looking at and the information and, something you'll just, you know, be able to show to someone else and start, and it's not just me, like, rambling off the top of my head with some notes. I have some notes, but, you know, jeez. Oh, gosh, that's my taxes from last year. Alright. I'm so glad everybody's here, too. I really don't know how someone on keto could get enough fiber. I guess no one gets constipated because they drink oil. Yes, Lucy, that's an excellent point. And that's the thing that's coming out in the scientific literature nowadays, is like gut microbiome, it's so important, fiber, 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 fiber. And then how are you going to get that fiber on a ketogenic diet? And I see some people who are like, oh, well, we eat vegetables, like, we eat tons of vegetables. A ketogenic diet is just like vegetables and lard, you know? Tons of vegetables. But if you're only eating 5% of your calories from carbohydrates, you can't eat that many vegetables. So if you claim to be consuming tons of vegetables, you're not eating a ketogenic diet anymore. And that's the other thing, is that maintaining ketosis is so precarious. If you mess up even a little bit, you're out of ketosis. For 5 days. For 3 to 5 days. If you mess up one time, you've screwed yourself for 3 to 5 days. And I can't deal with that. Like, I gotta eat frickin' cake. Or, not cake. Well, I tried to do some low-carb diets before, and I ended up just, like, eating a lot of cake. Okay. What about diabetics and ketones? Well, diabetics are already stressing a lot of their tissues with the high insulin amounts. Now, acidosis is also, generally speaking, a problem for people with diabetes. Their kidneys are also pretty stressed out and pretty high risk. So if you're dealing with diabetes, I would highly recommend getting onto a whole plant food diet, like is recommended by Dr. Neil Barnard. Where is it? Yeah, I feel like I pull out this book every time. If you have questions about diabetes and reversing diabetes or just stopping the progression of diabetes, I would definitely suggest picking this book up. Since Jennifer says, fruit baby, detox on fruit, go find Dr. Robert Morse on YouTube. So I think Dr. Robert Morse has some great points, but I think we can fall into the same trap with Dr. Morse that we can fall into with other doctors, of just listening to that type of advice without questioning whether or not the science, like, he uses some good science, but whether or not some of the ideas that he presents are actually valid or healing, if the type of diet or lifestyle that is recommended is something that you can actually adhere to long term. And it is all chemistry. Whether or not it's a correct understanding of chemistry is not always asked. And so with people like Dr. Morse, I like to listen to their advice, hear what they have to say. I definitely don't disagree with him all the way, but, and I appreciate that he works with a lot of people who have continuous issues, and I'm not sure about the stories of whether or not these people are actually getting better and being able to heal themselves. I haven't searched it out, and I haven't seen it presented, the people who are actually getting better by following his advice, but I don't see that what he presents is something that's particularly easy to stick to, and I also see a lot of people who end up dosing themselves with herbs without proper monitoring or diagnosis. Also, where did he get his doctor credential? That's an important question to ask, because it does not appear that it came from a legitimate institution. I'm not saying that I dislike him. I'm not saying that I think that everything that he says is wrong. I just think that it's really important to question what people are telling you, and question where they got the information, and if their reasoning that they're using is it's all chemistry and this is what chemistry is, you have to have an understanding of chemistry yourself so that you can question, like, whether or not this is totally correct or safe, or whether or not it's going to fulfill my nutritional needs. So okay. Is ketogenesis why people see results on a paleo diet? So, my understanding is that people, generally speaking, see results on a paleo diet because, first of all, paleo is, generally speaking, better than the diet that they were eating before. So, on a paleo diet, you get rid of dairy, you get rid of most processed foods because they contain grains and such, and paleo gets rid of oils, right? I can't remember anymore. So you're eating like a mostly whole food diet. Some paleo proponents do say, yeah, have even potatoes, they'll say, are fine. But they say eat lots and lots of vegetables, some fruits, and then paleo does keep the oils. I can't remember at this point, all the in my head. But, so people end up eating a better diet on a paleo diet than they were before. So they end up seeing an improvement right off the bat. They feel better. And after that initial I feel great, then you can start to have other issues. Maybe you slip on your diet a little bit, or maybe you adhere to it perfectly and you just get into a little bit more of the caloric restriction. You start having more cravings, more fatigue, more stuff like that. Or you start bumping into, maybe I'm not getting enough fiber, or maybe I am not getting enough of these other important nutrients that are found in a wide variety of whole plant foods, right? So then you can start having a little bit of an issue. But in the beginning, you feel better, you start to lose weight, and ketosis can definitely be part of that weight loss, especially when you've used up all of your glycogen stores because your body isn't able to store glucose as glycogen if you're not eating enough glucose to create that bit of excess that can be stored. And then once that glycogen is gone, you shed not only the weight of the glycogen, which I think can be up to like a kilo or something, but you also shed all of the water weight that stores along with that glycogen. Sorry, there's a helicopter tour going over my house. You might be able to hear it. There's like big trips in Hawaii right now trying to get the helicopters to stop flying over our houses. It's like freaking constant, man. So yes, to answer your question, ketosis and ketogenesis can be a big part of why people start feeling better at the beginning of paleo. What is it in meat that you need that's only in meat? Oh, that's a question for someone else. I don't think I'm going to get involved in that. What would you tell someone on a vegan diet that says they want to quit because they're always hungry and they've tried adding more fats, calories, greens, and beans? Hungry, but you're full. Hungry, but full. Caroline, I would that's one of those things where I would start to question, okay, so you've added in more fats and greens or calories or bulk or whatever, denser foods, and you're still feeling hungry. Is that real hunger? Or is that an excuse? Have they actually been trying that? Or is that one of those things where I had the thought, which is the equivalent of trying it? Because Levi tries me with that one sometimes too. Like, he'll complain about something, to do with his diet. Just as an example. He used to do this a lot more, but he'd say, like, babe, I've been doing everything that you said, and X, Y, and Z is still happening. And I'm like, hold on. You've been doing everything I said? Like, when? For the last 5 minutes? Because I don't remember seeing that being the case. And it's like, he just has kind of a different understanding of his behavior than I have seen reflected. That's just what I would say. Hi Tammy, I am not familiar with Cytomel treatment for hypothyroid, so I'm not sure, I don't have anything that I can add to that discussion, unfortunately. I'm sorry about that. Let's see here. Yeah, it's what my sister, okay, Caroline, we'll go back to the previous question. She says, it's what my sister says. She says she's ravenous all the time. I mean, maybe it is cravings. Like, there are times when I certainly crave a certain food, and if I'm not going to eat it, that craving kind of persists. I've found that those types of really intense, severe cravings go away for the most part when I'm eating really nutritious food that's, very nutrient dense in micronutrients. I have noticed that sometimes, like, if I get lazy about eating greens for a while, I'll start having, like, really strong chocolate cravings or something, and that's probably to do with the magnesium that's in the cacao. And then if I go back to eating greens and make sure I'm getting in, like, lots of magnesium-rich foods, those cravings kind of go away. There is, I have noticed that when I'm eating really high-fiber plant foods, like, say I try to make a meal out of, star fruit or apples or something, and I eat that, it goes right through my stomach, and I feel hungry almost immediately within an hour, and so that could feel like I'm always hungry. When I'm eating the more, like, denser starches and stuff that are slower with the digestive process, I just don't tend to feel that hunger as long as I'm eating enough, and as long as I'm eating foods that are, like, dense enough for me. Will I please do a retreat? Maybe. It would interfere with my being a hermit. but we'll see. Okay. Okay, Kelly Banana Belly says, what about the calorie deficit thing? I have weight to lose and I was going to eat the way high carb Hannah did to lose weight. That won't cause metabolic damage, will it? Yeah. I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. Metabolic damage is an annoying phrase for me because, metabolic damage, it's not like your metabolism breaks, but what we're talking about when we talk about metabolic damage is the endocrine system becoming technically more efficient by storing fat when there's a caloric deficit. So it's well documented, well known, it's in frickin' endocrine system textbooks. Caloric deficits slow the activity of your thyroid. Caloric deficits can cause hypothyroid. And anyone who's ever dealt with hypothyroid or read a blog recently knows that if your thyroid is under functioning, you're going to be more prone to weight gain. So the way high carb Hannah eats, I like to eat more than that, and I consistently ate more than that when I was losing weight. I lost over 40 pounds. I know that she had a different journey with her weight loss, and I think that I'm not going to deny that it didn't work for her and that it's not working for her and that she doesn't feel great, because I can't say that any of that is true. And I support Hannah. I support what she's doing in her platform and her helping people to lose weight. At the same time, I'm going to maintain that I have to eat more calories than that, or I'm not going to feel satisfied. I'm not going to have the energy that I want to exercise when and how I do. I know that, when I do exercise, when I'm weight training and stuff, I'm eating a ton of food because I'm just famished and I cannot eat less than that. I experienced, and I think it is perfectly metabolically possible to lose weight eating more calories than is perhaps recommended by Hannah. I think, does she recommend around 1,800 or something? I feel like that's the last thing I heard was 1,800 calories a day coming from Hannah. So I like to eat around 2,200 a day, sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on my appetite. And I think that it's best not to consciously restrict calories. I think it's best to let your body make that call, because in my experience and from what I understand about appetite regulating mechanisms and satiety, that your body will tell you how much you need of whole plant foods, and it will guide you with your appetite if you're able to listen to it, which is really hard for a lot of people. It's still hard for me. I tend to overstuff myself. My eyes are always bigger than my stomach, so to speak. And so it takes some training from you to be able to, question, am I really still hungry? Do I still want to eat more? Or is this me wanting to manage my anxiety through eating? There are also times when I create a meal for myself and I'm that's reasonable and totally enough to go in my belly, and I eat it, and then I'm still starving. Or I'm starving an hour later, and I eat. Life's too short. Life is too short not to eat when you're hungry. So I think Hannah is great. I don't think that what she says doesn't work. I don't think it's invalid. I think 1,800 calories, it sounds a little bit low to me, but it's definitely not as shocking as something like 1,500 or 1,600 calories a day. That would definitely set off my alarm bells. But I know she does talk about rapid weight loss sometimes, which, generally speaking, the consensus is that if weight loss is rapid, it's less likely to be permanent. So I'm in this for the long haul. I don't want to have to go through this whole frickin' process again. So I want it to be permanent. And if permanent means that it's going to be a little bit slower because I'm eating an extra, 300 calories a day than a certain diet plan tells me that I should, then that's life. Is that oh my god. I was like, that's a shadow. No, I'm sweating. I'm sorry, you guys. I don't wear antiperspirants. And it's hot, like I have all the windows closed. I'm sorry. Hi, Veggie Jacks. Welcome to the live stream at the most embarrassing moment. Yeah, 1,800 calories a day plus exercise. It will give you pretty fast results. But, then what? Because if I'm eating that much and I'm exercising, I either then become too tired to exercise, and then I get a lot of cravings, and then I end up, binging, and then it's it just doesn't work. Gain everything back. Okay. Elizabeth says, is alum a good depreciated? I assume you mean deodorant. Yeah, I caught that. I assume you mean the alum salts deodorant block that I use that I talk about. The deodorant salt block that I use, which is a deodorizer, so it prevents the sweat from having smell, it does not prevent the sweat. I've heard that it's all about chemistry, The molecules that are used in that deodorant are too large to be able to go into the pore or to be absorbed by your skin, so it stays on the surface. You wash it off the next time you shower. It does, eventually wash off with your own sweat. I consider it to be safe with the research that I've done. I also acknowledge that there are lots of options for deodorant. Sydney, I'll get to that in a second. I know a lot of people make stuff with coconut oil and essential oils. I don't know, I guess I'd be open to using that too, but I like the crystal one for now, and the frickin' crystal thing it lasts forever, so I bought one, and now I'm set for 10 years on deodorant, so anyway. Yeah. Okay. Sydney Schweitzer, is that Schweitzer or Switzer? Either way, it's a cool last name. I hope that's your real last name, that makes me happy. How to minimize stress when you're having a massive clusterfuck of a year. I've had this recommendation, and I'm recommending it more and more, is to go somewhere, your front yard maybe if you want to, if you're comfortable with it, somewhere out in nature, and raise your arms up to the heavens and just start screaming at the top of your lungs, what the fuck? And just let it out. Just let it out. I found that to be really helpful. If you don't want to do that, I understand. I've talked about it many times. I have a therapist. I will, I think I'm going to be losing my health insurance soon, so I might not be able to still be seeing her, but we'll see. I feel like I'm in a good place. But having someone to talk to just have semi-regular check-ins with, knowing that I have an outlet where I can talk to someone who's objective and non-judgmental and who's not emotionally attached to what I'm going through is really helpful. Because, you try to talk to family or boyfriend or friends, and family, they're tied up in it too, It's if I try to talk to my mom about something, she's just going to make it worse. My dad is wonderful. He's supportive most of the time, whatever issues I'm going through, but sometimes his emotional range is not what I would, need it to be in the moment. If I talk to Levi, he gets He gets caught up in what I'm going through. He takes it personally oftentimes. It's something that we work on, but he's not really a great person to talk to all the time. And then friends, I found that they just give, friends generally speaking, give horrible advice. That's just my experience. Oh, you. You are blocked. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna show it. Some people are really sick. I can't even remember what I was talking about anymore. Y'all are so sick. Oh yeah, shit show year. I know that when I had my shit show years, I took a lot of time to be quiet and to be by myself, because I did find that so many people gave such poor advice, or just were not understanding, or were telling me just get over it already. And so I ended up spending a lot of time alone, getting to know myself, kind of reflecting on the reasons that things happened. And learning to be the person that I wished other people would be for me. So learning to be the supportive person for myself, learning to be the person who would say things like, this sucks. I know. I'm sorry. I'm here with you. I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm not going to freaking abandon you. I'm right here. And I'm going to be nice to you. Other than that, you know, like practical stuff, try to get sleep. Try to be as regular as you can with your diet. Try to make sure that you're well fed, you know, like well fed with good foods, so that you just have that foundation and that basis where you can be solid. Yay! Kai loves dry brushing. And I love dry brushing too. I did it this morning. Yeah, you should do it in your dorm. You might get kicked out. No, you shouldn't do it in your dorm. I mean, you can do it in your head too, I guess. You can just scream inside your own head, but I don't know. I like to get it out. When I was having a tough time, I did a lot of writing, and I would like save all of my junk mail that I would get, or scratch paper, and I would just like write really angry things, and so much anger just like spilled out of me, and it was so gross. And then I would set those papers on fire in a safe place just to try to get rid of the toxicity. Interesting. Okay. Hi, Jessica. What do I think of Furman, who advocates for lots of nuts and seeds? I think that his diet on the whole is great. Do I? Am I thinking of the right person? I think I'm thinking of the right person, Joel Furman. I can't remember if he's one of the people that recommends yogurt. But, okay. Higher amounts of nuts and seeds. Wow, he says up to 40% of the diet can come from nuts and seeds. I think that's kind of ridiculous. I think if you watched the video on AGEs, that would be pretty alarming to all of us who watched that video. I know that if I include more nuts and seeds in my diet, I tried it a couple months back. I was like, yeah, we'll see. I was having more pumpkin seeds and a little bit more flax seeds, having some Brazil nuts and some walnuts a lot more often than I used to, and I ended up having a really painful cycle, and like worst cramps I had in years, really terrible PMS. Like I was unbearable to be around for a few days, and I definitely felt more fluctuations in my body. I felt more oil on my skin coming out. I don't really, it doesn't work for me. I don't see how that many nuts and seeds would be necessary or necessarily safe, because you can overdo it on some of those nutrients, especially the minerals and the oxalates and stuff. So yeah, Annie says, my therapist told me I had to be the mother for myself that I never have. Yeah, I've reparenting myself as well. I like read parenting books for myself. Okay, yeah. Joel Furman, not the yogurt guy. Oh, God. People are really weird, putting you in timeout. How long has this been live? 45 minutes. Oh, yeah, thanks for answering that. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. Joel Furman, it sounds like he's recommending 30 to 60% of calories from vegetables, and that's a lot. I can't imagine how you would get in so many vegetables and nuts and seeds. I would just rather eat some starches. Thanks. Have you tried lorazepam? I assume you're talking to someone else. Lorazepam comes with some really severe side effects. Really severe side effects. I saw a question earlier about the cannabis. I assume you're talking about the cannabis and such. A lot of questions about my beliefs as far as cannabis and THC oil, as far as treating anxiety and depression, other mental issues or physical issues, inflammation, that kind of stuff. My opinions on the use of marijuana. First, inhaling smoke is never going to be good for your lungs. I don't care what plant it comes from. Inhaling smoke is not good for you. Studies have even found that people that are around incense frequently have higher rates of lung cancer. So inhaling smoke, inhaling hot smokes especially, not good for the old lungs. I've heard that vaporizing can be better, although with all of the research about like e-cigs, and I don't know if it's what's in that junk or if it's like the actual vaporizing thing. I'm not sure what the details are on that yet. It's it could be better. It could perhaps be better. I'm not going to say that it's bad. As far as like edibles or the oils, I guess you can eat the oils and use them topically. I'm not totally sure. I don't use it, but I am definitely a supporter of medicating with more natural forms of medication that have much lower side effects than the psychiatric drugs that have been approved by the FDA despite their horrific side effects, despite no solid long-term studies to see how a lot of these drugs affect our brains and our ability to function long-term, and with a perhaps lower rate of dependence and stuff. So if you're dealing with an issue that is known to be helped by the use of medical marijuana, I think that it's definitely an avenue that can and should be explored. As far as recreational use, like again, smoking things isn't healthy. But I've smoked weed many times in my life, not regularly, certainly not anymore. When I do, I don't feel great afterwards. I think it's hilarious. Like, I think everything is hilarious for like 10 minutes. But then I just feel super blah and I'm coughing like crazy. And I try to eat tortilla chips. I'll eat 3 bags of tortilla chips when I'm high. That's not good. Okay. Yes, Can't Stop Lying says, yep, Lily, even vaporizing affects the gum tissues from experience. Yeah. Yeah, I think edibles would be... Edibles, I don't know. Shit, I don't know. But that's probably the way that I would go if I was doing it. Either edibles or, like, I don't know if you can do topical oils or just take, like, it'd be cool if they could, if they could do, like, they're heat sensitive, so it probably wouldn't work, but like a freaking DHA, DHA cannabis supplement. Jackie and the Bean Burrito asks, Lily, always been curious, are you spiritual / religious? I would worship a bean burrito right now if I had one. I was raised like strictly atheist. So in my family, believing in God or a higher power was a cop-out. It was something that like weak-minded people used as a crutch to navigate the horrible existence of life that just is what it is, right? So, I was raised to very much look down on religion and anyone who believed in like a universal force, right? Sorry. I was like, I have to pick up kids. What time is it? We're good. I always felt when I was growing up, like I definitely felt a connection with nature. And part of me was always really curious and like, part of me always idolized a belief in God. You know, it must have been so comforting, I always thought. And yes, coming off benzos is pure hell. I see this discussion and I've heard horrible things. I don't understand doctors who would prescribe them long term. But anyway, when I was growing up, there was very much like a spiritual connection with nature, which I kept very secretive. And then when I got a little bit older, I did like yoga teacher training, started to get more introduced to meditation and other forms of spirituality. And meditation and such has never really worked for me because I'm so prone to anxiety and I get really panicky when I try to meditate. I know it's supposed to be really soothing, but it's just not for me. So I find I can get into that like meditative zone, you know, if I'm hiking or if I'm in nature, if I'm kind of interacting with the universe in that way. What does make me feel like I have it really encourages my spiritual connection to the universe or multiverse or whatever you want to call it, is like just learning about astronomy and physics and the nature of the universe and how much is unknown and how much is, you know, just how atoms interact with each other and how atoms are able to do the incredible things that they can, which I won't get into now because I'll start to sound like one of those like quantum woo-woo people. But I do think that there's something very valid and very exciting about all of that. And it definitely helps to stoke my spiritual fire. And my spirituality and my spiritual connection has been really integral into me being able to like lose weight and help with my eating disorder stuff and manage my anxiety and help me be a better person in my relationships and help me understand all the crap that happened with my mom growing up and help me deal and help me heal and help me to be more calm through that. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question. And I don't like to share it because, like, I was raised, my spiritual connection was always, like, it was a very judgy subject. So I don't like to share it because I don't like other people's judgment being on it. I've also noticed that people within, you know, the spiritual realm, the spiritual movement, like, they try to out-spiritual each other. And it's like, if I share anything, suddenly they come at me with their story about their amazing spiritual experience and like how much cooler it was than them and how all of their chakras were buzzing. And I'm just like, okay, that's great. You're the most spiritual person in the room. You can have that title. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Will I ever get a cat, or is Petunia enough? I love kitty cats, but I don't like cat poop. I find cat poop quite repulsive. They also shed a ton of hair, and we have enough of that. Like, literally, it looks like the couch is a fur couch right now from the frickin' dogs. I have to vacuum it again. I hate that. So yeah, I've thought about getting a cat. We definitely have a frickin' rat problem here in Hawaii, and I wouldn't mind having a cat around to get rid of the rats, but then there'll be like rat body parts everywhere. I don't even know how to deal with that. Yeah. Bugs! You made me miss Petunia. Mr. Bugs, come. Honey, come. Come, honey. Bugs, come. She only comes when I feed her. Bugs! What is the most processed food I eat regularly? I love rice noodles. I have Cliff Bars occasionally. I've just gotten on a good dietary routine, stuck in a rut maybe, but yeah, probably the rice noodles. I'm a big fan of the rice noodles, and the rice paper, those are so good. All the other stuff, we used to eat tortilla chips more regularly, but we got off of that, which I appreciate, because that extra fat was not helping me. Petunia, come to me. She's hurting my feelings. Help with encouraging teens to stay with a vegan diet, especially when fast food places tend to be hangout spots. That's tough. You could homeschool them and like move to Alberta or something. Or, I don't know, teenagers are tough because they tend to rebel. So whatever you tell them, they're going to want to naturally do the opposite. What I try to do, I haven't raised teenagers. I soon will be involved in the process in a few years, but I think that what would probably be most effective is helping that to be their own choice. So I've heard people who have had success with just like leaving around information on the topic in the house, or just kind of helping them to discover that information without pushing it on them. Fast food restaurants being hangout spots, I don't know if you can help them encourage them and their friends to hang out elsewhere, like if there's a local park where you can go, or if everybody can like get food and then meet there and bring their own food or something. I'm not sure. That's kind of teenagers are tough. What you tell them is just that. Do you sometimes miss just digging into a basket of KFC? We have a KFC that's like 2 blocks from our house, and whenever I go that direction, sometimes it just wafts in front of us and I smell it and it smells so good. And yes, I used to love KFC. I used to love their biscuits and their fried chicken and their gravy. Like, I used to love it. And every time I smell it, my mouth waters, and it's just so good. And yeah, sure. I mean, I miss that. What I don't miss is feeling like absolute shit afterwards for days. I don't miss the constipation. I don't miss the breakout. I don't miss the weight gain and the fatigue and feeling like crap. So it's just not worth it as far as I'm concerned. Hey, Taria says, trying a keto diet when I was anorexic and desperate to be society's standard of beauty almost killed me. It sounds dramatic, but plant-based veganism saved my life. Love you too. Yeah, I tried a lot of low-carb diets when I was trying to, I say starve my body into submission. Like, that's what I was trying to do, is just get to that point where starving myself would be easy or manageable. And starving yourself is never going to be a solution. And so very much for me too, I came to plant-based veganism, and it was like the whole food plant-based diets. it literally gave me my life back, because I don't have to think about food all that much anymore. I think about, hey, what do I want to eat today? And that's wonderful. And that's a gift, you know, to just be able to think I can have anything. And what do I want? And to get excited about that instead of waking up and thinking, okay, well, I'm allowed to have 6 almonds, or, oh, hey, I can make myself some coffee or something else that's highly caffeinated and drop some butter in it, and that'll be breakfast. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. I mean, I remember my breakfasts used to be, you know, two eggs and a couple almonds, and that was supposed to last me for 5 hours. Funny. What are my thoughts on the TENS machine? I'm in the end stage of pregnancy and have so much back pain. So the TENS machines, they produce like a small electrical pulse that stimulates the muscle into contraction. I've used them. I've never found them to be particularly helpful for me. I know other people who have and who enjoy using them. I think the premise is that, you know, they get the muscle to contract and then release more than before. I've worked with a lot of clients who have used them, who have been prescribed them to deal with injuries. Some people find it really useful. Some people don't feel any effect. So my inclination is if you're planning to invest in something like that, definitely give it a try. Try to try it first. Try it first so that you know if it actually works for you before you invest in something like that. To the best of my knowledge, the best that I've heard, they're not dangerous in any way, but that's kind of outside of my scope of understanding. Okay. Jessica says she's going to rewatch the video with the spring rolls or the summer rolls because it's a funny one. And they're all funny. Yeah. Making the sexy tablespoons, it's kind of fun, but it's also really stressful. I know Levi gets stressed out because I'm stressed out, and I'm stressed out because I'm trying to manage like camera angles and shots, and Levi's so funny. He can just say some really random stuff when the camera turns on. And I get that because I get really camera shy too. Not so much anymore, but I definitely used to before I, made 300 videos. But trying to like manage him and manage the food and then get us to eat by a certain time of night before 9 o'clock, it was really stressful, and it ended up just being too much. Maybe when he's laid off again we can start, but we'll see. Veggie Jack says, I made those spring rolls after seeing your video and failed miserably. They were tasty but ugly. And then YouTube held your comment because it thought you were calling me ugly, but don't worry, I know. Any ideas on how to relieve this back pain? Massages can be so expensive. So I believe that you are pregnant, as you just said. And pregnancy can definitely add to the complications as far as what's possible with massage, because you can only lay on one side. I can't remember which side. I don't do pregnancy massage. Can't lay on your back, obviously can't lay on your stomach, so pregnancy massage can be complex and, yes, very expensive, and the amount of benefit that you end up getting out of it is, I don't know. I've never been pregnant, and I've never gotten a pregnancy massage, so I can't say how good it feels, but as far as relieving the back pain, some light stretching. I don't know if you can put a tennis ball or two up against a wall and then try to move it up and down on either side of your spine. That could help just to get some blood flow and such in there, but there's just so much stress on the area at the time, when you're fully pregnant and waiting for that baby to come. It's a lot of pressure, it's a lot of stress on the area. So I would say trying to massage yourself, either with tennis balls or like trying to get your partner or your friend to do it for you, that could help. And just give you like a little bit of rubs while you're laying on your side kind of in more of a fetal position or something, letting that area stretch out a little bit. Unfortunately, that's probably all I can give you. Oh, yeah, someone asked earlier about the pleasure trap and my thoughts on the fasting aspect that they talk about in the pleasure trap. And I think, my understanding is that fasting is a really effective way to deal with certain issues. But first of all, is it necessary? And second of all, is the person going to be able to maintain it? Is it going to potentially hurt them psychologically? So for someone like me who comes from a past of restriction and really striving to eat less in a way to become skinnier, I think that's fasting is not a great idea. I don't think it would be very beneficial to someone psychologically or perhaps physically. I know that the fasting that they do at True North, it's medically supervised, and generally speaking, it's done with people who have specific issues that they're trying to deal with, like, really bad rheumatoid arthritis or really, really bad hypertension that's life-threatening, and they want to bring that down really fast, or they want to get a fast result as far as symptoms go for people. So I think that fasting can definitely have benefit for people dealing with very specific, generally speaking, like severe or life-threatening situations. Otherwise, there are ways to do it in which you're still nourishing your body, but you restrict a certain amount of food that you're eating. So, like, I don't think there's much wrong with going on a fast where you're consuming, like, fruits and vegetables and sweet potatoes and taking away all the processed foods, I feel like something like that could be really helpful. Okay, I hope those tennis balls help. I don't like to feed trolls, but morality mentality has shown up. And not only did you say some really ugly things on my last video, but then you said that if I was lucky, I would get a white man for Christmas. So I think I'm going to take this opportunity to hold you accountable for that and remove you. Or I could block you. I think I'll just put you in timeout, just as a punishment for being racist and an asshole. L-Carnitine. What was the question about L-Carnitine? I'm trying to find it. Yeah. I'm trying to find that L-Carnitine message that you guys are looking for. And I think it's just fine to talk about trolls, especially when they're perpetuating systemic racism, and it's just something that you face in your relationship all the time from really inconsiderate people who think that they can post whatever they want to on the relationship or on the internet about your relationship, and acting like people aren't humans. So, questions on weight loss and L-Carnitine? I don't have much to give you off the top of my head. It's if I remember correctly, it's, you know, one of those supplemental nutrients that people like to add, you know, because it'll theoretically speed up one aspect of weight loss. And I don't tend to enjoy focusing on like simple, like specific nutrients that you're going to supplement and take in and assume that that's going to really help with your weight loss. Many say it works. I haven't tried it. I don't personally know anyone who has done it with success. I don't know anyone who's tried it and failed because they haven't told me. I'm not saying that it doesn't work, and I'm not saying that it's necessarily a bad idea. I'm just saying that I probably wouldn't bother with it. I just want my weight loss to happen as my body is ready for it to happen and as I am healthy enough for it to happen so that it will be, like, permanent and manageable. Yeah? I hope that makes sense. Okay. The other thing, I get uncomfortable with isolated nutrients because sometimes they can set off like chain reactions in your body with other nutrients, or they can affect like other hormones in your body, and some of that could be good, like it could induce weight loss, but there could be unintended or unacknowledged like side effects and such. What's my experience been taking the amla powder? I don't know. I haven't noticed any difference. It tastes okay, like it's good in a smoothie. I put it in my hair sometimes, but I haven't noticed anything specifically from watching the amla powder. Should people, or do people need a DHA supplement? This is one of those things where it's like, it depends. So, as humans, we are capable of converting omega-3 precursor fatty acids into DHA and EPA at low levels because most of the time our bodies don't need very much new DHA or EPA. Like, we're good at recycling, we are good at converting and creating what we do need, and once we're grown and our brains have developed, the amount of DHA that we really need is quite low. Some populations are better at converting essential fatty acids, precursors, into DHA and EPA. Those populations would be women like me, who are in their childbearing years, who theoretically need larger DHA stores or need to be able to convert more DHA in case we get pregnant and grow a tiny brain inside of our bodies, you know? If you're outside of that population, say you're like, you know, a man or a woman who's not in childbearing years, then your conversion rate will be lower, but your need for DHA will also be lower. So what you can do is just make sure that you're getting plenty of DHA precursor fatty acids. That's one option. That's what I did for like 7 years of my veganism. I have recently started taking a vegan DHA supplement. I initially ordered it for Levi, and he forgets to take it all the time, so I'm like constantly nagging him and following him around with the bottle, like, hey, take this, I think it might be good for you. Because I was just worried that his conversion, like, he's a dude, he doesn't convert DHA that well anyway. He's also, he eats well. He eats a lot better than he used to, but his diet isn't perfect, and he eats more processed foods and stuff, so it's not like a perfect whole plant food diet, and he forgets to, eat his flaxseed quite a bit. So I was like, yeah, it doesn't necessarily hurt to take DHA or EPA supplements. I do use the vegan DHA/EPA supplement from Nordic Naturals. It's algae-based, so it doesn't have the same contamination issues as fish-based omega-3 products do. It's also, not dead fish, and they're not being dragged out of the oceans and overfished and all that kind of stuff, so it's good all around. There are some issues if you take too much DHA or EPA, like short-chain fatty acids are highly oxidizable, they're fairly unstable, they do better in environments with lots of antioxidant intake, so the fact that I'm eating so many antioxidants is a good thing, but there's not a solid consensus. There are some studies that indicate that it's really good for you to have super high omega-3s, and that it's really good for your brain, and that it's great, and it'll make you live longer, and lower your risk of heart disease, and all that kind of stuff, right? Some of those studies are a little bit flawed, as far as, like, what they're studying. Okay, go, I love you. And some of them have all of these benefits, but then they don't talk about necessarily the risks, like the higher amounts of oxidation, or the potential for excessive bleeding if, you have an accident or a surgery or something like that. I'm not sure what effect that has on, like, strokes and such. But anyway, I don't think you necessarily have to take... Dear God. I don't think you necessarily have to take a DHA supplement as a vegan, and certainly certain plant-based doctors say, no, absolutely, you don't have to. Like, I think Neil Bernard and Dr. McDougall, they say, like, nope, no need, silly to even think about it. I think, like, Dr. Greger says, like, yep, take it, it's a good idea. And some other, there are just different recommendations all around. I don't think you're going to die without it, but, like, I decided to experiment and start taking one. I take half the dose, so you're supposed to take 2 pills a day. I just take 1 pill a day. My taking it, however, now that I am taking it, it does lower the amount that my body will be converting from sources like flax seeds or green leafy vegetables. So I have to be aware that it's probably not the best idea for me to, like, take it one day and then not take it the next and then take it another day, because your body does a little bit better with more of, like, a consistent thing. Does that make sense? So that's just me experimenting with it. I didn't start because I was having any symptoms or anything. I just decided to, like, give it a try. And I was going to make a video about it at some point, once I'm more aware of how it's affecting me. Oh yeah, it is Friday the 13th. I totally forgot about that. Failed to mention. I did not go to health coaching school. I've been taking the DHA once per day. Usually 1 pill. Sometimes 2. I don't know. I'm not super, like, exact about it. Any tips on finding good doctors? My boyfriend is type 1 diabetic and has been told again and again to eat low-carb, high-animal protein. Even after mastering this, type 1 diabetic being high-carb vegan, his doctors shame him badly. Oh, that's really unfortunate. I'm not sure. I think maybe check out the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. I can't remember if they have, like, a doctor directory. I think Dr. Pam Popper, she was trying to put together a directory of, like, plant-based or at least plant-accepting doctors who can help manage that. There's like Mindful Diabetic Robbie or something on Instagram, and I think he's on YouTube, but he's a type 1 diabetic. His name is Robbie, and he does this type of diet. I can't remember if he's a doctor or what. I know he's very, like, medically based, attends a lot of conferences and stuff. If you reach out to him, he might have better tips for you than I do. 'Cause yeah, the doctors who, like, shame you for it's just... I went through the same thing. I went back to my doctors and I was like, so let's do some blood tests. I don't feel super hypothyroid anymore. And I'm like, and I did this doing the opposite of the recommendations that you made. And they're like, oh yeah, well it doesn't work. And I'm like, but it's working. And they're like, no it doesn't. You're wrong. You can't be my patient anymore. You're non-compliant. It's like, okay, so I got better, which means I'm non-compliant. Great. Is there any merit to the blood type diet? No, there's none. There are several YouTube videos, like I know Dr. Pam Popper, she did a good YouTube video about the blood type diet. I think Dr. Greger has talked about it. Mike the Vegan made a good video about the blood type diet, and it's just, there's no proof. He's never, and the guy who invented it, he was like, oh, I'm gonna do a 10-year study. And that was like 15 years ago. No study. Doesn't exist. He's not talking about it anymore. He's just trying to make good money. Lindsay. Lindsay, you're in Hilo. You need a good chiropractor? Yeah, I can tell you the good chiropractors. I really like Dr. Craig Kane. He's on Keawe Street, down towards the bridge, the river, the Wailuku River Bridge. He's really good, Dr. Craig Kane. I used to actually work with him. He's the one who gives me most of my adjustments because his prices are really reasonable, although I only go like once a year now. But anyway, Harva Lee, if you have insurance, I can't remember her last name, Dr. Harva Lee, her office is across the street from the library. She's phenomenal. Phenomenal. Yeah. Okay. Alright. What is IBS? How can you cure it? Irritable bowel syndrome is the IBS I assume you're talking about. Where did I put it? There it is. I would recommend... Oh, that's one of them. I would recommend this book, Gut Bliss. We talked about this book before. If I remember correctly, she has a whole thing about IBS. And all the recommendations in here are really helpful. Yeah. Chapter 13. What about IBS? Page 122. I won't read it for you. But I got this book used on Amazon. $6 including shipping. No reason not to get it. I can't count. Yeah. There you go. What about IBS? I would advise read that. Yeah, Caroline says, I just went to the chiropractor and I was afraid to let them crack my neck because I was scared of a stroke. Yes, that's something to be legitimately worried about. If you go to the chiropractor, you want to make sure that you're going to one that is not a careless quack. So, how do you tell? I would definitely check on their credentials, make sure they went to an actual decent school. I would also, I think if you tell someone that you're nervous about having your neck cracked, and if they try to like brush that off or tell you that you're silly for that, I don't think that's a good doctor. I know that I, for one, sometimes my neck just gets into such a tizzy that I can't deal with it any other way than to have it cracked. And I guess I just deal with that stroke risk. It's really unusual. It's unusual that happens, but it can. But it's very unusual. And usually it's because of a very careless chiropractor. Yes, Gut Bliss would be good for... Gut Bliss is good for, like, any issues that you have with using the bathroom. It's incredibly thorough. Incredibly thorough. Can you cure Crohn's disease on a plant-based diet? I'm not sure if you... I'm not sure if you can cure it per se, but I have heard from Dr. Pam Popper. I did a class with her about bowel issues. She has a whole like Crohn's disease, irritable bowel syndrome, inflammatory bowel disease protocol that she has good success with. It's a specific plant-based diet, low fat. I do believe that for different phases of it, it has like a low FODMAP, what's the word, part to it. So it has different foods, you know, depending on what the sensitivities are, and trying to limit certain prebiotics to avoid irritation, and then introducing probiotics in a certain way. So again, like, I think to promise a cure would be really inaccurate. I think to get to a point where you're really stable and you're not having like a progressive worsening of the disease would be possible. But I think that is something that you should work with medical professionals such as Dr. Popper. I know that she does do like email and Skype consultations, and she's getting like a network of other doctors who she works with or has trained or is able to like put that together. And you might be able to find someone through her or work with her in order to get that under control for you. How many times should I eat in a day? I would say, like, I don't know, sometimes I only eat twice. Sometimes I eat 3 times, sometimes I eat 4 times. I'd say like 2 to 4 times. It depends when you're hungry, when your body wants food, when it's asking for food. I'm gonna have to go soon and pick up kiddos. But it is good to like eat and then have a break between your meals. It's good for your dental health. It's good for your insulin health and pancreatic health. So that your digestive system gets to have like a short break in between meals, and your blood sugar can come back to normal and all that kind of stuff. But I'd say like 2 to 4 times a day, however often you're called. If you're someone like me, I like to eat really big meals far apart. But like someone like Levi, for some reason, he can't fit as much food in his stomach as I can. I don't know. I guess, like, years of bulimia will do that to you. Me, not him. And so he has to eat, like, 4 times a day. Well, okay. Back to the chiropractor. He said that it's a myth that you can have a stroke after having a chiropractic adjustment. Then he says, like, there's no higher likelihood of getting a stroke after chiropractic session than any other activity. I would ask him for a citation on that if he wants to give that to you. If he doesn't acknowledge that there's, like, a risk to giving a neck adjustment, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I would be a little bit nervous about that kind of cavalier attitude. As far as, like, you can stroke out from many activities. The likelihood that it's going to happen is low. But you could theoretically just stroke yourself out at any time. Okay. Alright. This is going to be my last question. Becoming Proactive asked, how do you prevent yellow teeth from fruit sugars? Well, I've never like gotten my teeth specifically stained from like specifically eating fruits. Something that can happen is as you're eating the fruit, like if you allow the sugars and that fruity mess to stay on your teeth between meals, those can feed the bacteria, and the bacteria, you know, poop out acidic compounds, and that breaks down your enamel, making it more prone to picking up stains. Another thing that can happen is eating a lot of acidic fruits, like if you eat an entire meal of, you know, unripe oranges or kiwi fruit or some other acidic fruit, that can kind of peel away the protective layer on your enamel. And I always laughed because after I ate a bunch of kiwi fruit, my teeth were always really white, but they were also more prone to staining. So I would say that when you eat a meal of like fruit or whatever, I would make sure that you either rinse your mouth with water, and then, you know, you can either spit it out or swallow it, but rinse it a few times to try to get those food particles off of your teeth. And this is good for any food, not just fruit. If you, I know that some people say that if you eat acidic fruit, definitely avoid brushing your teeth afterwards because you'll just kind of strip the enamel even more. Some people I've heard swish with like a baking soda formula that's alkaline, and so that, you know, kind of neutralizes the pH of your mouth and supposedly prevents growth of bacteria and potential enamel damage. I don't do that just because of convenience and stuff, but I definitely swish with water. And then brush your teeth regularly, floss every day, at least once a day. Sometimes I get paranoid and I floss twice a day. And I occasionally whiten my teeth. I've done a video about it with the charcoal whitener, which I don't do it every day because it is abrasive, and I talked about that in the video. But I found that to be helpful for, you know, whitening teeth and limiting stains and stuff. Okay? Okay. I have to go and run and pick up one of the girls. And I had fun. I hope you guys had fun too. And I will see you all oh, no. One last question. You guys always get me. Leia says, a while ago you mentioned that you were going to stop eating Bragg's liquid aminos. Why is that? I was doing some research. Someone brought it to my attention on the Instagram. They were like, hey, I thought Bragg's liquid aminos was horrible. And I was like, no, I've never heard that. Why? So I went and I researched a little bit, and it was like, how do they make Bragg's liquid aminos? Because you look at the ingredients, and it seems so simple, right? How do they do it? Look it up. Apparently, what is projected that they do, because they won't actually admit to this. Like, the company is not transparent about how they make this product, which is a warning sign as far as I'm concerned. So they take, like, the soybean hulls or something that's left over from soy processing, and then they add in hydrochloric acid, which breaks it down into its, you know, amino acids. But then you have this thing that's, like, really acidic and horrible. You wouldn't want to eat that or put it in your body because it's hydrochloric acid. So then they add a bunch of baking soda to it, which just doesn't sound nice to me. I don't want to be eating baking soda. I hope they use aluminum-free baking soda, but it's not listed on the ingredients, so we don't actually know. So at that point, there's some kind of chemical reaction with the hydrochloric acid and the baking soda, and, you know, breaks down, neutralizes the acid, and then you're left with a bunch of salt left over. Yeah, and that's why it tastes salty. And so you have the amino acids and the salts, and that's where you get the umami flavor and whatever. I read about that. It just sounds kind of gross to me. So I'm going to switch over to tamari or something. I don't know. I haven't really even figured it out yet. But Levi's terrible. He just takes it and he freaking sprays it all over his food. I'm like, could you be a little bit... it's expensive. So we'll see. Anyway. Yeah. I'm probably going to switch to tamari. Coconut aminos. I'm not sure how those are made. What are they? I would have to research the coconut aminos and see how they're even made, but they're really expensive, and Levi uses so much that I'm not sure it would be, what's the word? I start losing words after, 90 minutes of doing this. Affordable? Realistic? For our lifestyle? For Levi's, spraying of everything? Okay. Thanks, you guys. I hope you enjoyed. I am cost effective. That'll work. I am starting to think about doing short Q&A videos that'll be hopefully 4 to 6 minutes long as I can stop my mouth from chattering so much. And so if you guys want to submit questions either on the Instagram or in the comment section of the YouTube videos, you can submit questions there, and then I will try to do little bullet burst videos where I address these questions similar to the way that I do here, but just in shorter forms so that people can watch only what they want to watch and they don't have to sit through, 93 minutes to get one question. I get it. Okay. Thank you guys, and thank you for all of your appreciation. It really makes it worth it. Okay? So, until next time, make better choices for yourselves. And take really good care. Yeah, I'm gonna still do live streams, so don't stress about that. Alright. I love you guys. Bye!